Welcome to the Guide Me in Recovery workshop of WCNA 31. My name is Al and I'm an addict. And I don't believe we have any announcements. So, can we please open this meeting with a moment of silence followed by the Serenity Prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, I guess I got somebody to read what is the Narcotics Anonymous program.
My name's Dominic and I'm an addict from Cebu, Philippines. What is the Narcotics Anonymous program? NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There is only one requirement for membership, the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We are not affiliated with any other organizations. We have no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups, and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. We are not interested in what or how much you used or who your connections were, what you have done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only in what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean.
Thank you. Okay, may I have somebody read Why Are We Here?
My name's Ron Z. from Northern California, Shasta County. Why are we here? Before coming to the fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed our use ahead of our welfare of our families, our wives, our husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibility, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized in our addiction we were slowly committing suicide, but addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods were sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until in desperation we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized we were sick people. We had suffered from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point and recovery is impossible.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Craig J. from New Mexico.
Hi, everybody. My name's Craig, and I'm an addict. Did you ever have like that nightmare where you were speaking at the World Convention and you got up there and you didn't say anything for 10 minutes? Yeah. I'm a little bit nervous. Thank you. When I I got the phone call a couple months ago, and Grace and I were talking. It was like it was a joke. It's like, I'm sorry, who is this? Some guy named Mike. Oh yeah, sure. Mike wants me to speak at the World Convention. And there was a lot going on at the time. I was hitting the end stage of a divorce, and things were pretty tough. And in my home group for the last 2 years, since I got back from the World Convention in San Diego, every Sunday I have been announcing that there's going to be a World Convention in Honolulu, and then I would introduce a Hawaiian word every week. Right, I've been doing this for 2 years, for every week, and I don't know if people were sick of it, but all of a sudden it was like, we're a year away, and now we're 9 months away, and so here it is, and I just can't believe I'm here. Earlier I was sitting with my sponsor. I'm on the 3rd floor, but he's my sponsor, and so he's on the 10th floor. And I understand how these things work, and but we're sitting up on this balcony having a cigar together, and looking out over the ocean and seeing the beauty of Hawaii, and when I got clean 22 and a half years ago, I did not have any idea that this was going to be a part of my life. When I was at that point of desperation enough where I would start listening to other people that maybe I had a drug problem, maybe I might want to get clean. It never occurred to me that this moment right here was going to be part of the journey. And I don't know if you guys have had experiences like that. I know that when I look back at what it's been like to be clean, 22. When I came in, I was 21 years old. I was the youngest person in Narcotics Anonymous in Albuquerque. We had one meeting a week. You knew everybody in the rooms. You knew everybody else's business, or you thought you did. And now, in Albuquerque, where I come from, we have a fellowship that is going through some growing pains, so where we might be splitting actually into 2 areas. We have a meeting every day, and there's so many people coming in that you just don't know who everybody is anymore. It's been such a privilege to be a part of that and see that stuff. The topic that we were asked to speak on is guide me in my recovery, and so for the last couple months I've been thinking about this night, and because sometimes I get into projection. And so that I've been thinking about what this would be like, and so far it's absolutely nothing at all like what I thought it would be, and that's good. So today I was thinking about just the totality of my recovery was kind of coming on me, and I'm just an ordinary guy. I'm just an addict, and from the outside, I'm a computer nerd, and I work for a healthcare organization, and I have a kid starting college. But so from the outside you don't see anything. But you know what? I have a life that I love, and before I got clean, life wasn't anything that I loved. Life was something to be endured. Life was something that was painful. People, I had it that people hurt me. I had it that I was unlovable, that I would never be able to find love. I think one of the things that I used over was just a sense of isolation and alienation that I felt. And I certainly don't feel that way to the degree that I did when I got clean. It still comes up from time to time. but nothing like that. I grew up in a family of insanity. My mother was an addict, still is. Dad's an alcoholic. In August 15th, they both celebrated 30 years in recovery. I have my younger sister celebrated 21 years in recovery this year. And so we're a family that came from the wreckage of parents that weren't able to be there for their kids that were, like kids get in an addict family, to the point now where, our issues aren't about dealing with the past. Our issues aren't about wondering if there's stuff unsaid. Another thing going on is my dad has inoperable cancer. He's just turned 76 on Monday, and the four of us have been talking about the gratitude of having this situation come up, and this is a part of life, and I understand that now. And we've all been talking with each other about just how remarkable it is that we're not confronted with this and trying to fix everything right now, trying to fix a past that was broken, trying to mend old fences, in a hurry. That's been handled. That's been handled. I think it's kind of cool to say, I got 100 years of recovery in my family. Then there's only four of us. And so now it's about helping my dad do this thing, and in any way I can. I never thought I was a good person, let alone a good son, and so I'm just honored to be there in whatever way I can for my dad. And I know this is a common thing among us addicts, is that a lot of times with our family stuff, when we come in, or when I came in anyway, there was so much rage there. I don't know. I don't know if I could have identified. Well, of course you love your parents. I mean, I was very, very angry, very angry. And I think my mom and dad carried a lot of shame for what was going on in their addiction, and just, the whole thing. And this program works. This program works. I've seen my family get healed, and I'm grateful for that. I never ever thought that would happen. Never. But there's been a lot of people that have been instrumental in me getting here, and a lot of them I'll never know. This is some of the stuff that I think about is, my first sponsor, Peter Rubin, he's deceased, and I carry that guy with me. I don't believe that when people pass on, they disappear. I think about Peter, and he's right here. We did our first 10 years clean together, and I remember us, celebrating celebrating in October in Albuquerque, and we were so excited because now, we had arrived. We had 10 years clean, and that had to mean something somewhere. And we got T-shirts made, and and they had a big X on the back of him. What was really funny is he's a Jewish guy from South Philly, and I'm a white boy from Chicago, and we're walking around with X shirts on when in the movie Malcolm X was coming out. So we were representing, you know, and we were excited, and it was like, wow, this is so awesome. And 8 months later, Peter was diagnosed with cancer, and he was dead about 6 months after that. And I learned so much from him. You know, the 10 years that we were together, I learned a lot from him. But I learned so much from him in those last 6 months. You know, I learned about courage. I learned about commitment to the principles. I watched this guy just absolutely committed. You know, I watched a guy in pain that refused to take medication as long as he could possibly do it. You know, not because he was macho or anything like that, but because he didn't want to be missing anything. And just watching him handle stuff, and he had a great sense of humor. You know, and he had that sense of humor all through this experience that we're all going to go through. You know, and I got to watch him do that. The last day that I was with him, I remember he was at home. He was basically in hospice. He was on a hospital bed in his living room, and I just put my head down on his chest and listened to his heartbeat. And he was already pretty well comatose, and just watched over him, and for about three maybe 4 hours. And his wife trusted me enough that she went into the bedroom and took a nap. It had been the first time that she slept in a couple days, and he was gone a few hours after that. I'm trying not to be morbid here, so you know. But again, he's somebody who guided me, and he had 10 days more clean than I did. You know, when we first started, there wasn't a lot of predecessors. You know, I don't know if Tom's in here anywhere, but there were some people there was one guy with 7 years clean in Albuquerque. There was another guy with maybe a year and a half clean, and everybody else was just crazy. You know, they have you sign a release when you speak, and so I made this note for myself. I'm not going to say what it says, but you know, this is just for me to remind myself not to say that, and so I'm going to put that there. Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. All right. You know, the other people. You know, I'm not one of these guys that came in and just said, where are the steps? I'm ready to go. And I'm going to hit 3 meetings a day. And I was, let's say I was a little resistant to change. You know, I knew I didn't like the consequences of using. I knew I didn't want to use. But I wasn't sure about this cult thing that you guys wanted me to get into. I wasn't sure that I wanted to let go completely and just have all this weird stuff happen to me. I mean, who knows, maybe 20 years from now I might end up at a world convention, and wouldn't that suck? You know? You know, but to me then I was I'm very, very resistant, and people were gentle with me at times, and other times people have gotten very honest with me. Let's put it that way. Like what happens in these rooms, and you know, but I think in Narcotics Anonymous, that was the first time that I connected with a thing that people had absolutely no reason to love me. There was no reason. There was no reason for you guys to love me. You didn't know me. You didn't know anything about me. You know, there was no reason for you guys to be the way that you were when I came in, and yet you were the way you were when I came in. You know. It was a given that there was a seat there for me. You know, you guys told me that I earned that seat, that it was okay for me to be there. You know, and it was okay for me to be however I was when I was there. You know, and And that example helps me now. There's times when when we come in, when we're newcomers, that we're not necessarily well groomed, we're not necessarily receptive, we don't necessarily pay a whole lot of attention. We don't necessarily want to be there. Sometimes we come in and it's like, you sign that for me, And who am I to say who's going to get this and who isn't? I'm not. I'm responsible to carry the message. I'm responsible to carry the message. And I was taught that. Everything that I've done in Narcotics Anonymous is a result of we. It's not a result of, I have some responsibility for stuff, but it's a result of other people waiting for me to wake up enough so that I would take responsibility enough to try and help keep this thing going. There were people there that kept the doors open for me. There were people there that negotiated the stuff with the various churches and rooms so that we could have a place to meet. There were people there that collected the money and actually didn't steal it. They actually did buy coffee with it and paid the rent and bought the chips. There were key tags, and there were people there that went to area. There were people there that went to region. There were people there that did all that service work so that when I came in, there was a place for me to be there. There was a place for me to go and bitch about the coffee. Oh, I said a bad word. All right. Sorry, Narcotics Anonymous world. You guys are guys. And I think about that. I had the privilege of being the secretary for a meeting in Albuquerque that started at 6:30 in the morning on Tuesday, and just for a year, going and opening that meeting, and there was a lot of times that I would get there at 6:20, and I'd go make the coffee and stuff like that, and I wondered if people would show up, and somebody always showed up. I've been able to we're pretty rural in New Mexico, and there's a guy I met down in Deming, New Mexico, a guy named John, who for a couple of years ran a meeting down there, and there would be months and months and months at a time when he was the only guy there. And he would go to a church, he would start the coffee pot, he would put the readings out around the table, and starting at the time that the meeting started, he would do all the readings, and then he would just sit there and wait. And then after an hour, he would close the meeting down, and he did that for months. And I meet guys like that, and it just astounds me the level of commitment that happens in Narcotics Anonymous. And you know what? We're not run by a bunch of corporate people. We're not. We're run by you. We're addicts. Addicts do this thing. Stop me if I'm wrong. But addicts do this thing. Addicts wrote our literature. All of it. Addicts got together and wrote our literature. I read there's times I read the preface to the basic text, and it talks about, just briefly, it talks about everything that it took for this literature committee and the committee for the basic text to get together in Wichita in 1979 and start the process for creating a basic text. And I've read that thing and started weeping. I know how it is at our area, at our area meetings. I know how it is sometimes in our business meeting on Sunday. It gets a little heated occasionally, all right? And so, imagine addicts getting together all over the country and writing a basic text. It's mind-boggling. And I read the basic text, and it's, to me, a perfect piece of literature. It talks to me. And sometimes stuff that I've read 100 times all of a sudden jumps out and talks to me. There's a thing that goes around sometimes that I hear where I hear addicts say that this is a selfish program. And so I just wanted, I had something in here. I got my book here. Not necessarily to look cool. But I have my book here because it talks about this program. And this is on page 117 in step 12. It says Narcotics Anonymous is not a selfish program. In fact, the spirit of the 12th step is grounded in the principle of selfless service. Upholding this principle in our efforts to carry the message is of utmost importance both to our own spiritual state and to those whom we are trying to carry the message. I'm selfish a lot. I'm selfish a lot, and I do get that confused sometimes with whatever my state of being, whatever my thinking is, that Narcotics Anonymous must be that too, and that's just not true. Selfless service is all over the place in Narcotics Anonymous, and I love this program. I'm grateful to this program. Narcotics Anonymous has created a framework that my whole life has exploded out of. When I got clean, right before I got clean, I didn't want to wake up. So I would use, and then when I wake up, I would be angry, so I would use, and it was like that. Day in and day out, day in and day out, and it was great. And there was never anything exciting going on. I didn't think I belonged here. I thought it was a gross mistake. And very, very slowly, out of participating in Narcotics Anonymous, after just staying there and letting you guys love me, I remember this experience very clearly. I was driving to work one day. I probably had about 60, 90 days clean. I'm driving to work, and in New Mexico and Albuquerque, on the east side of the cities, we have a dramatic mountain range, and it snowed the day before, and it just covered this mountain. And then what happens in Albuquerque is it'll snow, and then the next day it'll be completely clear, and the snow will melt usually in a day. But before it melted, the entire mountain was just pure white. And I'm driving, and for the first time I could see it. I could look and I could see that. It was like the first time that the power greater than myself just said, "Hey, hang in there. Look at this. Let me show you something. Check this out." And so I'm driving to work, and I'm just transfixed by this mountain. And then here comes the exit ramp, and I'm just kind of watching it, and then I promptly forgot about it and drove to work. But the feeling that I felt for maybe those 5 or 6 seconds, it was the first time it was the first time I felt peace in years. And I remembered it, and it was such a great feeling that, I'm an addict, and it was such a great feeling that it was like, man, I want some more of that. It was suggested to me that seeking a spiritual solution to my disease might engender some more of that, and so I started doing this thing. The first time that I sat down with my family and did some amends was powerful. It was powerful to admit my wrongs, and then I had a very good outcome. Everything was forgiven, and to start the process of removing the stuff from my past, or having the stuff from my past removed so that I could live in the present. It talks about in the 8th step. This is one of my favorite. I think I have it marked here. This is like one of my very favorite sentences in the It Works How and Why. What is a narcotics? What are we doing? What is this process that we're always talking about? Well, it says that we are involved in a process designed to free us from our past, so that we are able to live fully in the present. We always talk about right here and now, and that's something that sentence just jumped out at me recently. I want to be free from. I want to be here. I'm in Hawaii at the World Convention of Narcotics Anonymous, and it's Thursday night, and it's late, and I do have jet lag like y'all, unless you're local. And I'm tired, and you know what? But I want to be here. There's no other place in the world I want to be other than right here. And for most of my life, that's the last place I wanted to be, was right here. And the way my addiction shows up is I'm always avoiding stuff. I'm always avoiding. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to do that. I'll wash those dishes later. I'll do this later. I'll do it tomorrow. I don't want to think about what's going on right now, so I'll start rehashing my past. The joke is when I'm right here, when I'm right here, and you guys taught me this, when I'm right here, everything's okay. Everything is okay. I can think about that. There's a lot going on, right? In the world, there's a lot going on. But for me, from a place where I can start from, so maybe I can carry a message, right? Instead of being paralyzed by my disease, it's like, well, what's going on? What's going on right now, Craig? Well, I'm standing at a podium. I can't believe I'm standing at a podium in Honolulu, Hawaii, and it's about 10:30, and holy, this is awesome, and it's okay, and I'm breathing, and I'm clean, and I'm with addicts that are seeking recovery, and it's okay. It's okay. And I love that. I love that feeling of being present. I want to be here. I don't want to check out. But I still do. But I'm involved in a process that's designed to free me from that kind of stuff so that I can continue to live in the here and now. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And I want to teach other guys how to teach other guys, how to teach other guys, how to teach other guys, how to teach other guys. I love guiding men through their recovery. I love that. Not all the time. But on the whole, I love it. And I can't believe I get to do it. When I hear an inventory that is well thought out and well written, done to the best of a guy's ability, I have just a profound feeling of humility and gratitude that there's a God out there that thinks that it's okay for me to be the person that this is shared with. That I'm trusted enough with one of His creations who's hurting to carry a message so that they can teach somebody else how to do this thing. To me it seems pretty simple. We come in and we take 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 and we take, and then at some point it's like we give and we give and we give and we give and we give. And that's how it should be, I guess. It seems to work well that way for me. Right now I have a guy who's just been really working hard on steps, and I love that. He comes over and he has this little briefcase. He has this little briefcase and it has all these recovery stickers on it. And he comes over to my house and he sits down and he doesn't screw around. He goes and gets a glass of water. He doesn't mess around. He sits around. He pops that briefcase, pop, pop, lifts it up, breaks out his workbook and his step work, and he's ready to go. It's awesome. I wish I was that kind of addict. The guys that I sponsor teach me. They teach me a lot. I have guys. I talked earlier about what's going on with my dad. There's a couple of addicts that I'm very close with that have taught me about what that's like, how to deal with loss. How to take that gut shot. How to take it more than once, and how to stay clean. And I watch how this fellowship works. Last year I went down to South Florida, and I got there a couple days after Charlie went through, and had the privilege of going to a meeting at Fort Myers the day that they opened up that community. And I remember driving down there with Wood, and we're driving, and we look down the road, and it looks like the wintertime, and it used to look like in Illinois where I grew up, where you just see these huge, when the snowplow goes by, after you shoveled your driveway all day, the snowplow goes by and puts like 8 feet of snow in your driveway. That's what it looked like, but it was sand. And as far as you could see were couches and refrigerators that were taped shut, and people's belongings that they pulled out of their houses that had been completely inundated by the storm surge. And we went to a meeting, We went to a meeting the first day that they could open up that community. They were all working in their houses, cleaning it up, and you know what? And they had a meeting. They stopped what they were doing and they had a meeting. And there's all that stuff going on now that when I watch it, it breaks my heart. Do we have any addicts from Louisiana or Mississippi here? Anybody? You? I know that what's going on there is that there's some addicts that are having meetings right now. I know they are. I know they're finding each other and they're having a meeting. I know it. What do we do? Oh, fuck, let's have a meeting. We can't figure this out, but you know what? We got a higher power. We got some principles. We got each other. We could do some damage. And so I'm glad you're here, bro. So and we get together here and we create everything that happens here. It's not like what a lot of times I go to conventions and it's like I want to participate like I'm watching TV. I want to go there and I want to sit there. I want to be entertained by a good speaker, and I want everything to be good, and I don't look to the left or I don't look to the right, or I just hang with the people I know. But you know what? The way that these conventions and stuff like that always work is after a while, energy starts coming up, stuff starts to happen, and it takes on a life of its own. And we do that. We create recovery. We create recovery with the help of God as we understand it. Just in our relations with each other. I can't tell you how thrilling it is for me to go up to somebody I don't even know and just go, "Hey, I'm Craig from Albuquerque. Who are you?" And we start hugging and talking. I hug men in the bathrooms at world conventions all the time. Guys I don't even know. All right, and 20 years ago, I didn't think I would be doing that kind of thing. And but it's not weird like that. It's love. It's love. I mean, look at us. We get to carry the message. We get to carry the message. And we're people that were broken. We're people that were hurt. We're people that inflicted pain. We're people that were invisible. And we get to do this. And as I mentioned before, I can't believe that I get to do this. It's astonishing to me when I think about it. Just the little moments that happen. So, how much time do we got? 45. Pardon me? How much time do we go? 45. Oh, so I need to shut my hole.
Probably. I'm going to speak.
All right. Okay. Well, I apologize for that. So, anyway, I want to thank everybody that was responsible for getting me here. Going back to my first day clean to right now, and there are a lot of you. And I love Narcotics Anonymous, and I will always be grateful to Narcotics Anonymous. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our second speaker, Grace C. from Maryland.
I'm an addict, and my name is Grace. And I promised myself I would do this. I'm so excited! I just can't hide it! Aloha from Baltimore. I don't know if I was going to jump out of my seat over there, or scream, or what. What an honor. Thank you to the fellowship, to God of my understanding and to the people who have guided me to this point in my life. To be asked to do a meeting anywhere in Narcotics Anonymous is an honor, but to be asked to share at the World Convention, what an honor. I'm so grateful and so excited. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. No drug ever gave me this feeling. No drug ever gave me this feeling. I was sitting outside praying for a while, and what a beautiful scenery out there. I saw lightning flashing, and the stars are so bright, and I just knew that that was a message from God that it was going to be okay. Just to tell my story, because that's all I got anyway is my story. And I have a lot of similarities with Craig. I have a lot of sickness in my family, as I'm sure we get older, a lot of us do. I've had a lot of sorrow, a lot of loss, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about joy and recovery and the message of hope, and that no matter what, you do not have to get high. And if I'm not a living example of that, and if this isn't a living example of that, then what is? For real, what is? Look around. It was an awesome feeling being downstairs in that main speaker meeting, all them people praying together. Just if you didn't get goosebumps, then, keep coming back. That's what they told me, keep coming back. I had an opportunity to meet someone that I haven't seen in a long time, and I had a chance to show him my son, who he hasn't seen in 10 years. And my son grew up in here, and for me, that always shows what my recovery is. That I have been able to raise a child in this fellowship who is okay with who he is. And today, thank God, through Narcotics Anonymous, the steps, a guide, a sponsor, an awesome support group, one of the best places in the world to recover, Baltimore, Maryland. We have meetings all the time. And I'm not saying that where you live isn't good, but we got it going on in Baltimore. And the real deal is like what Craig said is we tell on each other. And the message that I have to give you, and please guide me in my recovery, is if you see me living dirty, please tell me. Save my life. Don't worry about saving my face, because, it's going to be there. But save my life. I'm trying not to say that F word either. That's like one of my 3 things. Caffeine, nicotine, and cussing. I'm still very much a part of those 3 things. But, when I first got asked to do this meeting, like Craig, I went to the first person that sponsored me and guided me through the steps and taught me the real deal, and it was about sitting in the front, and that there wasn't intermission at meetings. When did that happen? Everybody gets up after the speaker and walks outside to smoke or whatever. You didn't do that when I got clean. You stayed in the meeting the whole time. And they told me that if I didn't have nothing to share, if I couldn't share the solution, then I needed not to share. It was okay to share the problem, but I needed to share the solution, even if the solution was that I wasn't going to get high that day. Because that is the biggest solution. For me, it was always the biggest solution. Every day we make a choice not to get high. Now, I don't know. I hope that I never make that choice through God and the steps and the sponsor that I have in my life, who I really wish was here. And I talked to her before I spoke. I know that that's not going to happen as long as I do the next right thing. That's what they told me. That's what I believe. That's what has carried me through. I have such an awesome feeling in my heart that I don't know when I got it. I don't know how I got it. I don't know when God graced me with it. All I know is that I have it, and it happened in here since I began recovery, and that no matter what happens in my life, no matter what has happened in my life or what will happen, I'm going to be okay, because I have a God. I know to go to a meeting. I know to raise my hand and share if I'm in trouble. And I also know to raise my hand and share when I'm not in trouble, just to share where I'm at and how wonderful my life is. Who would have thought a drug addict like me, coming up the way that I did, would be asked to not only to be able to come on vacation in Hawaii. How about that? I didn't think that was in my story, coming to Hawaii. I was already just going to a movie. But coming to Hawaii and standing up here in front of all you people, and I'm still very nervous. I'm trying to calm down, get a little thing going on. Woo! Narcotics Anonymous is the best thing that has happened in my life and hopefully in yours. And if you don't feel that way, don't give up. Please don't give up. Because they told me when I came here that they would love me until I learned to love myself. And then it was my responsibility to stay here and give it back. Show somebody else how to do it. And in desperation, when I can't help myself, I can always extend my hand and help someone else. And somehow that takes me out of whatever situation is going on in my life. Through all the storms, that has always been the thing that has helped me the most, is helping another addict. Calling somebody else and saying, I'm in trouble. What are you doing tonight? Let's go to a meeting. Just talk to me. I'm sad. And I don't do that all the time because my disease tells me that it's not okay to share when I'm in pain or when I'm sad or when I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But God always tells me that as long as I do the next right thing is going to happen. May not seem like it, but in hindsight, everything that has happened to me up to this point has got me where I am today. And my life is wonderful. And I'm not saying that my life is wonderful because there's nothing crazy going on in my life. I have sick parents also. They can't diagnose what is going on with my mom. My husband isn't here because he had to stay home because of the business. And I really miss him. I never realized how much strength I drew from him. And to be able to call another person and tell them that, like, I really miss you, and I didn't realize how much I loved you and how much I need your strength. I couldn't do that without being where I'm at in my recovery. It took me a long time to be able to even say those things. And it wasn't until the freedom from the steps afforded me the opportunity to learn to love myself enough to love somebody else. And that's the message. The spiritual principles are wonderful, but if you're working them by yourself, you're missing out on a whole nother realm of recovery. Because this is a weed program. It is about sharing with each other. The greatest spiritual principle that we share with each other is that of love. And we hurt each other so much in this fellowship. And believe me, I have been the person that hurts, and I have been the person that has gotten hurt. And neither one of those things feels good. It doesn't. Especially when you got to, because if you're working them steps, somehow you got to make that crap right. I almost said a cuss word. And that's not good, but that is how I learn, through humility and saying when I'm wrong and not doing it again. There's the hit. That when you're living dirty and you clean it up, you can't go back to living dirty again. You got to live the right way. The book tells us that. And this is a 12-step program. And 12 traditions. And those traditions are very important because they truly guide us in our recovery, which is the topic of the meeting. My sponsorship family every month does a step and tradition, and we just did the 8th tradition. And like Craig was saying, you can read something over and over and over again, and then it just hits you. And in that tradition, it tells us that it is so important for us to not only love one another and accept one another. That doesn't mean that I have to like what you're doing. That doesn't mean that I'm okay with what you're doing, but you got to figure all that stuff out for yourself. But I can love you enough to tell you. And that's what, for me, I need that. Not only in my life, but I know my support group needs that, because that's how we learn with each other, is we tell each other when we're doing good and when we're doing not so good. And then we're there to help them pick the pieces up. Our fellowship has grown so strong since I've been here. And some people look at it and say, well, we miss the smallness. We don't know each other. Only in the numbers that we have can we continue to grow this. Not only this fellowship, but to take it outside in the world. I was talking to that security guard outside. And I said, it's kind of crazy, all us crazy addicts here, isn't it? And he said, but you're all such wonderful people. Where'd you ever hear that before? I didn't. I mean, think about it. When that meeting let out downstairs and all them people came out, I can't even imagine how many people there were. But in a normal environment, or a work environment, people would be shoving each other and complaining. They can't get to this, they can't get to that. But we all stood in line and hugged each other. How wonderful was that? Just imagine if everywhere was like that. And it only takes each one of us to do that. Each one of us to carry our part of it. Because it's not just about what we do in here, but it's about what are you doing out there? Am I taking my recovery? Because I can only speak for me, I can't speak for you, unless you give me permission. That's the other part, right? If you don't know me, and I have not given you permission to take my inventory, please don't. Take it to your sponsor. I have people that I have given permission to take my inventory, and they do it freely. And I have a sponsor who also is allowed to take my inventory. So if you're not in my support group, hopefully you have a support group that's going to take your inventory. Don't let each other die. Really, that's a message in itself. Don't let each other die. If I love you and I think you're high, I'm going to ask you if you're high. You might be upset with me. Okay. Maybe I'm going to save your life if you can't tell on yourself. I have learned to tell on myself. Sometimes it's very difficult to come into an open meeting and share the real deal. And that is what I miss. Because I share the real deal. Freedom from the steps has given me not only freedom from myself, but that I don't need your acceptance anymore. I have my own. That's an awesome feeling. If you don't have it, work the steps and you will get it. The steps tell us that. Right, Big Al? The 12 steps says that having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, give yourself a break and work the steps. They really work. Freedom from self means that all of the wreckage that I created, for me, this is what it means. All the wreckage that I created out there no longer can keep me in my own prison. Because it doesn't matter anymore, because I don't have any shame over my past. And if I'm carrying shame about what I'm doing today, I need to take a look at my program. I need to take it to somebody that loves me enough to tell me whether or not I am walking this. The eighth tradition talked about the amends process. And the eighth step talks about the amends process, and it says that as addicts we can justify almost anything, can't we? Almost anything. I can justify anything in my head, except when we read that literature, because it is in black and white. And that eighth step told me that it doesn't matter whether I have actually done the wrong. If I intended to do the wrong, I owe an amends. That's some heavy stuff there. I did not like reading that part of it. But it says, guide me in my recovery. Take my life and my will and guide me in my recovery. Which means that I have to be open-minded enough and willing not only to carry the message to you, but to carry the message to myself on a daily basis. That when I read something like that and God says, okay, wake up, Grace, here it is, here's the hit, then I got to do something about it. And that's what I'm doing for my recovery, to stay clean one day at a time. What an awesome feeling to be able to be totally free, not only from active addiction, but totally free from anything that I judge myself on, because the steps have given me the way up and out. Thank God I have a guide. Thank God I have a sponsor that loves me. I called and I told both of them, my sponsor and my husband, that I really wish that they were there, and I prayed with them on the phone, and I told them how much I missed them. And they said, both of them said to me, we're there in spirit. And then I look around and I see so many people that care about me, that are from my area, and people that came to support me, and I never had that until I got here. So how can I give that away, not to my child, to my family, to anybody, if I don't have it? And for so long, I did try to give away love, but I wasn't able to love myself. On a weekly basis, I go and take care of my mom. And like Craig said, I sucked at being a daughter for a long time. Even clean, I sucked at being a daughter. But when my mom got sick, the circle of life told me, and the steps told me, that I had to step up to the plate and do what I have to do, to make sure that my mom's okay. I wish there was a miracle cure for her. But how many people wish that there was a miracle cure for your own family? Not only suffering from physical ailments, but from this disease. Because this disease is rampant. I was listening to him talk about his family and how many of his family members are in recovery, that would be so cool to have my family in recovery. But I have a family of origin and I have a family of choice. And this is my family of choice. Because these are the people that love me. These are the people that showed me how to live. That do continue to guide me in my recovery. So that we can give it away to each other. See, do I need to say anything else? I know when I first came here, so many things didn't make sense to me. The one thing that they told me was one day there's going to come a time when you can't get a hold of your sponsor, when you can't get a hold of your support group, when you can't get to a meeting, and you better have a guide. And I keep reading over and over again in everything I pick up about praying on your knees. And I don't know what happened to me somewhere in my recovery, but I stopped doing that. And everything that I picked up and started reading, even I read a lot. I get peace from reading. Even non-NA related literature, it talked about that, praying on your knees, and how that is such a humbling thing to do, to bring humility into our lives. So for the past 2 nights, I've done that. Because I'm sleeping by myself because my husband isn't here, and that's weird all by itself. And so it has given me the opportunity to bring that back into my recovery. And it really made a difference because I felt a better connection with the God of my understanding. And when we came down here to have dinner, we were walking across the street and there was a huge rainbow. I mean, a huge rainbow right outside the convention center. And I thought, every time I go to God, God answers me. Whether it is something like creating a rainbow like that for me to see, or having someone smile at me, or hug me, or say, Grace, it's going to be okay. Or just to touch me, just to touch the healing of someone touching you and hugging you. Because I never had that until I got here. That is such a wonderful thing that we give each other. And to actually hug someone and hold them and feel that bond there. I never knew what that was until I became a member of Narcotics Anonymous. And to see so many people, like, out in the hallways, smiling at each other, hugging each other. We don't do that when we're not in here. We don't do that when we're not in NA, unless it's another NA member. But just for a minute, imagine what it would be like if our world was like that. Not just a fellowship. So if you can take one thing from this meeting about guide me in my recovery, for me what that means is that all the time, no matter where I am or what I'm doing, there is someone watching me. And that how I live my life today depends on how I live my life tomorrow. Am I going to live it in shame, or am I going to raise my head and live it in grace? In God's grace. Because that's definitely where it's at. Thanks for letting me share.
Wow, what great speakers. Thanks for sharing. All right, I have somebody to read just for today. All right, how about we do recover?
My name is Michael. I'm an addict from Orange County, California. We do recover when at the end of the road we find that we can no longer function as human beings, either with or without drugs. We all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative. Either go on as the best as we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proving itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple, spiritual, not religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous.